What's up, YouTube? Sorry to put this on the internet, like I said, but I was hoping to get some unbiased opinions about the videos and everything. I was also hoping that people would be asking questions and this and that. That's why I left uh, Miss What's Her Face unblocked and still subscribed. That way she can weigh in too, but she knows there's not anything she can say or do that is going to explain the facts of this situation, other than what the kids have said and what the cops are holding. And trust me, there is a lot, lot more that has not been put up. I do want to keep pointing out the fact that she used, hold on, let me start this right. The whole incident of teaching David how to manipulate and lie got David in trouble. Okay. She was trying to gold dig and trap me. It's basically a gold digging move to entrap a man. So, you can basically make him your puppet, is what she was doing. Um, I did not realize that. I did after putting all this stuff together and retracing steps and re-going over things. You know how sometimes when you stop and you start going over things that you didn't notice start to click, and it shows you that something really crazy took place, or this, that, or the other. I say this, that, or the other because sometimes the details of the situation can be not so detrimental or severe. Sometimes it can be really, really small thing, but the way it works out, things like that, blah, blah, blah. Basically the same thing. This is just more on an extreme scale. Um, Let me see. So basically, she was diagnosed with a mental disorder that she's not being properly diagnosed or medicated for. And that was the BPD with manic episodes and narcissistic tendencies. Now, all that could have changed and gotten, more severe. It could have changed to a totally different level for all I know. And also, they only got that from the games and stuff that she was playing in the meetings that we would have. So, and she was playing games, but that told them a lot. Um, let's see. Try and stay on track here before I run out of time. That's the hardest part. But anyway, she did all that behind my back trying to get the land. She couldn't do that, so she destroyed our vehicle, not just the car when we after we moved to 139, but the van too before we went. Yeah, it was like she was making it impossible. And I don't know why it seems like this demon keeps following me around and making people around me do that to me. Her mother started doing that, and that was one reason why Tiffany and I didn't want to be around her. Then other people started doing it. I started noticing my brother doing it, my sister doing it, my nephew Brian doing it. And I'm like, what the? It has to be. That's the only other thing I can think of. How the hell did all these people end up doing the same thing? They all suffer from the same mental illness. That's like 1 in a million, which possible, but very unlikely. But anyway, she did that. Um, she was trying to mess with the reputation, put me in jail, give me a bad background, all that. Even if she didn't get what she wanted, she was gonna, basically what I call baby step it until she got what she wanted. And that's what she did. I never in a million years thought that she would hurt the kids, though. I mean, all the research and everything that I was told is that they would hurt themselves, but I was never even took it into account that they would hurt, little babies. But apparently they will. Yeah, we never talked about that part. And I don't know, my mind just, I don't know. I don't know if it was her manipulation or I just never thought in a million years that she would actually hurt them. I mean, I know she yelled about Jasmine, but like I said, I thought that was just to, disrupt my life, which it did. She got mad because I was still able to complete the jobs, but I had more work to do that day, and I would have brought home a lot more money, and that's what she erased. Not only that, my uncle that I worked for, she knows that'll get me to where I have no work very quickly. He doesn't play games like that. Y'all don't understand. It was like boot camp, and you're not listening. I said boot camp. I didn't say kitty boot camp. I said fucking boot camp. 120 hours a week, $300 a week salary when I first started. And no, I didn't get to do shit on the weekends but work on cars. So there you go. Like I said, 120 hours a week was our normal. If we work less than that, it was like a vacation, kind of. Everybody thinks that's a fucking joke when I tell them, oh, there's no way. Don't fucking tell me. I did it. Seriously. It was nothing for it to commonly be 17, 18, 19, 20-hour days. We were start to finish. I I slowly, well, to me it felt slow, but everybody else said I moved really fast, up the ladder type deal. But anyway, I got to percentage to where I was basically my own business. I had my own insurance, I was my own company, and I'm installing for him as a subcontractor. Um, that is when I really started making my money, and I was really, really, really fast because I didn't have him in my way. Yeah, I was a lot faster on my own than I was with a crew. I don't know why. I guess, stopping and having to teach them shit. I don't know. But anytime I had a crew, I was always slower than if I was by myself. Yeah, any flooring installers will know 200-yard glue down, take up and put back, plus blending seam in the middle, which was an L seam. It wasn't just a straight seam. And cove base, furniture, all that. I did all that myself. Ripped it up, carried it out, cleaned it up, put the nude down, and put the cove base in, and put the furniture back within 9 hours. Yep, 200 yards. Uncle John couldn't believe it either. He dropped me off, dropped the material off, he left. I called him when I was about done, and I was sitting on the toolbox waiting for him. He actually took about an hour getting to me after I called him. I was sitting out there for a while. So it only took me 9 hours, but getting back to the shop, unloading the van, reorganizing it, then getting in my car and going home. Okay. Plus waiting on him. Plus the ride to the warehouse. You're looking at about 2.5 hours just waiting on him and the ride to the warehouse. Then another 45, half an hour, 45 minutes, give or take, for cleaning out the van, reorganizing it, getting it ready for the morning. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm not moving fast like I do, you know, normally. My day's done. I'm kind of in hover mode, so to speak. I already went through 4 or 5 freaking second wins, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah, I'm on buffer mode like, last thing I got to do before I go home. But anyway, back on task. She was doing all that stuff, wrecked the vehicle, got me in trouble with work a bunch of times. Purposely. She didn't do this like she didn't know. She knew. Like I said, we were together for over a decade, 12 years, not 10, 12 years. Yeah, we split up for a little while, sometimes, but our normal was about, a span of 4 to 5 years. Or that was our best run. It was kind of, oh well, 6 years, kind of in the middle, really. But yeah, everything else was because she, every time, you know, I was doing something with Dale or Tony or working, it was always doing stupid shit. I always left it on the table that she could always talk to me about any of that. She just never did. And no, we wouldn't have fought if she would have just talked to me. But when I give somebody that option and they deliberately keep pissing it down my back, then they decide to take a knife and cut it open and then piss down it again and again and again and again. It starts to piss you off, especially when they keep blaming you when you're the only one doing anything. Oh, every time. And now I see these videos where people are pointing out the reverse psychology and all that, and I'm like, yo, know that firsthand. Yeah, it's all part of witchcraft. Well, some of them know it, some of them don't. They don't really care. They just know it works. So I go from being completely and utterly pretty much abused when I was a kid to almost being blown up, then having to suffer through the appendicitis that I went through and Gundry glass just because I stood up for myself. By the way, I was told if I stood up for myself, I would never be in trouble. That was a lie. The only one that never got in trouble for standing up for themselves was my sister. And most of the time, she was lying about those fights. Yeah, she started them. But you can't convince my mom of that. Mm-mm, not at all. Even though I had half a school that told us the same thing. But whatever. Anyway, um, so we get David back, and David knows how to really be cordial and manipulate people now. I mean, way better than what he was doing before he left. So, whatever that court order did just made him worse. It didn't do anything for what they said he needed help for. And they tried to say that these people were better and more trained to deal with David because obviously him going to school and lying like he did was a parental education problem. How the hell is that? Any kid could have went to school and thought up a story and lied to get a toy or anything they were being bribed with. Y'all are stupid. I mean, yes, it could be that, but that doesn't mean every situation that happens like that that's what's going on. They were targeting us because I beat them with Jasmine and Miss Sarah, the one lady Ellis, didn't like me at all, and she was supposed to be fired, but no, she is still there. And yeah, I was pissed the way they were fucking treating me. All right, single mothers get help even though they're drug addicts and most likely lying to you, but single fathers just automatically get the fucking stank eye. Yeah, that's hilarious. And see, going back over it like this with you guys or on these videos is the same way I walked through it before. And this is how I started connecting things. And it does all connect. It also connects to what the kids said in the video. Now, people can say I coerce things, like I said. Uh, Coercion in this situation is not even possible. Okay, let's say that I don't even want to do that because then people are going to start, losing their minds. But anyway, just for shoots and googles, let's say somehow I got them to say that on camera. Okay, me and her's not together. I'm not in the vehicle. Me and her mother do not talk. So how was I capable of coercing them to say something that they were going to do? I mean, this is so simple. It's not even funny, and you people are trying to blow it out of proportion. It's right there. The kid said it, and then she was doing it before and after. So obviously, what they're talking about was the incidents on the road. They were waiting for something like that to go down. That night, this is where the tricky part comes in. That night, David only had a phone with Wi Fi, so he can only text me from Nana's house or Mom's house. And if Mom turned off the Wi Fi because of whatever reason, then the only place he could have texted me was from Nana's. I also pinpointed the fact that Nana had them and was on their way to her house just before that text came to me, because 15 to 20 minutes after that text is when the cops said that this happened on that road. So obviously, something was said to David to try and get him pissed off enough to where he would do something that night. What's really funny is Kirsten was scared to death the night of her concert, which was 2 days before this. She did not want Nana driving her to her concert or back. She made me do it. She even came home with me after the concert. But anyway, um, well, she didn't come home with me. She rode with me back to Nana's. And that's when Tony come out and told us about how earlier that day, Nana almost got Nolan hit by the person that owned the park that they lived in, because they were just letting him run out front with no fence and no nothing. Now, this is the same woman that tried to say that Bethany's mom was crazy for what she did to Kyle at 2 years old, which was the same thing this woman just almost happened to Nolan. I don't, I don't, I don't get it. Also, keep in mind that me and Tiffany's anniversary was May 21st. This is 2 days after what would have been that. And like I said, Kirsten was really scared the night of her concert, but also the boys weren't with us. So their plan couldn't fully unfold that night anyway, because that kind of messed it up right there. And I'm pretty sure it's because they decided to stay with Tony and not come. Right. That's what I mean. They will a, a lot of times pull off things on certain time and date because they worked it out too. But I think this year they were just trying to slowly but surely, but basically nonchalant, wait. They just knew if they kept pushing, David would bottle up and eventually attack because he had been doing that since he came back. What has he ever seen that from his dad? No, never. Has he ever seen it anywhere? His nana and his mom. I think it's funny all these supposed badass females that would be pissed off if somebody ever hurt a kid, and they know this stuff, and they choose not to accept it. Yeah, even when they see the video and the traffic pattern, because I reenacted it. And I promise you, it is 100% exactly what is on that video. The only difference is where there is a light on. And now it is day or dark time, but are dark, but they have a street light and they have headlights, and you can see everything. As in, nothing in the road. Still doesn't explain why she deliberately goes uphill, keeps speed, never touches the brake, and targets the only truck on the road that night. And he tries to move and successfully does so. They almost pass each other, and then she nails him right where he couldn't have moved. Literally steers right into him. Also, cops said that people were trapped. That was the reason why they died. And that can't be true because the motor, firewall, all that wasn't even distorted or um, displaced. So, how? Also, nobody got in trouble for them not being in a seatbelt. Nobody got in trouble for being on drugs or alcohol, which both parties were, or prescription painkillers, which I believe she was. I don't know about him, as in the driver of the truck. Um, when she called me, and it was about like 9:34. She said that, you know, or 9:20. It was around 9:20 when she called me. It was literally 10 minutes after David, maybe a little bit less than 10 minutes. And I wasn't even going to answer it because I didn't want to talk to her. But I did. And I had just gotten home from work. I was laying down on the couch. I was actually thinking about going to Wawa to get coffee and a couple other things and then come back. But I decided not to. I should have went. I would have ran right into what was going on. But anyway, I got this call and she told me she felt like something was wrong because they hadn't showed up and her mom wasn't answering her phone. So I'm like, okay. So I go to Timberbrook. I pick her up and I'm driving the back one or the front entrance out to 40 to take up to the light, go down McAllen Valley, the reverse way of what they would be coming. just in case there was an accident along the way, we would see it before we got to the house to see if they were still there and just being held up. So she flipped out. I had to turn around and skip that part of it and go up to the trailer park on Lums Road. Then on to crap, I can't even think of the name of that road now. Because Mechanics Valley turns off and then that one can Burchett, or yeah, I think it's Burchett. Starts with a B, I know that. I know it's not Barron Road. Barron Road's on the other side. But anyway, so I go down Lums. I take the left to go up towards Stony Chase. We get to Stony Chase, and you can plainly see from the top of the hill before we ever even get to the house. There's nobody there. All the lights are out. There's no car. Obviously, nobody there. I go to turn around. She flips out. She wants me to go to this house anyway, and she wants to go inside and make sure nobody's there. If anybody's paying attention, she's diverting. She is fucking diverting. I didn't even notice it at the time. But that's what she was doing. She knew what happened. She already knew. She was diverting to bide time so we wouldn't be able to get close to it. Because she knew once cops and paramedics were around it, we wouldn't be able to. So, after about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I finally get her back in the vehicle and we go to take off to go down where we should have went the first time. And as soon as we hit the bridge, which turns into Mechanics Valley, there's caution tape across the bridge, not letting anybody down. And I turned and looked at her and I told her, I said, I want to go down there. I said, but I know if I go, you're going to follow me. And I said, I know what that tape means. And she just looked at me. And I said, I do not believe you need to go down there and see that. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm trying to play dumb. She knew exactly what the hell was going on. She knew it. But anyway, she was playing it off. And I told her to start calling police departments and hospitals because somebody is severely hurt or worse. Then I find out that my stepdad's friends and family were the ones that handled the whole incident. The detective on the case is my stepdad's best friend. All friends with Brian. Yeah, my nephew. Imagine that. She diverted them with that fake story about David, all because she did not take him to an intake. I was at work. She was supposed to take him. She told me right to my face I just didn't feel like taking him. So I'm going to lie and say he was sick. And that's what she did. And then they kept bugging her and bugging her and bugging her. So she thought by going, she said, if I go to Union and get him evaluated, they'll probably let it go. And I looked at her dead in her face and said, they're not going to let it go. You need to take him to that appointment. And you better hope they don't do something because you didn't take him. Oh, they're not. They're not. But she was trying to fight me not to go to Union Hospital with her and David, which is highly, highly out of the normal. Anything like that, she always wanted me present. Always. She always acted like she didn't know what to do. So there's a lot of diverting. There's a lot of lying. Not only that, her store closes at 10 o'clock. She doesn't get home until 10:30 or 11. How did she get there before 9:30? And she must have been there at 9 or at least 8:30. Not only that, she has to walk because she refuses to buy a car because her thing was somebody will give her one for walking, even though she done wrecked 4 cars. Yeah, 4 cars. We weren't even split up for not even a year yet, and she had done destroyed and ruined 4 vehicles. Expedition, Dodge Neon, uh, Ford Windstar, and another Ford Windstar. Now, I already know that she'll deliberately try and hurt herself, and it should have told me something because she did this while she was pregnant, and that was deliberately wrecking the other car that we had when we were in Lakeside. Yeah, she was pregnant. She deliberately did that just so I couldn't go to work. And I know that because I know all her appointments. I know everything she's got to do. So that way I can schedule any work around it. And I just got off the phone with a client. Her name was Debbie. And Tiffany did not. I don't know. She did not want me working for this lady. And she said, "Oh, I got something to do before you leave." And I said, "Okay." So I gave her the key and she went to go do it. Well, she didn't even make it out of the back road, which is a back road she is very familiar with. She has always been able to execute that area just fine. But for some reason, after this call and the fact she knew I was going to go anyway, all of a sudden, now my wheels are gone. And I can't go anywhere because I have to watch the kids and I can't even get to the hospital where she's at. Yeah. I get to the car and it was hit in the side of the firewall, which crushed it. So it was totaled. It was an older car. It was in beautiful condition. I was so pissed. It was an 87 Cavalier. And the last owner, which it wasn't the actress, but it was still kind of funny. Betty White was the last owner. It was hilarious. But anyway, beautiful car. But yeah, she wrecked it. And I'm kind of glad it was an older car because if it was a newer one, man, she probably wouldn't have survived that. And yeah, they considered that her fault. Well, she said that she didn't see the person coming and she pulled out. And that's not true. You can see the clearly. So either she knew they were coming and pulled out anyway, or for some odd reason, she just pulled out and did them all. But like I said, it's just very ironic that she was mad as fuck and did. And she was trying everything to get me not to do this job. And I'm like, we need the money. We need the money. And she would yell, scream, throw shit at me. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, oh, I've got something to do. Right. Now, yeah, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. Didn't care about the car, cared about her and all that. But once she got back from the hospital and the things that she was doing, ended up getting us in trouble for a court date we were supposed to have the next day because she didn't want to go to it. Got us put in a 4-day hold because of that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. No, we turned ourselves in, but a sheriff did show up at the house while she was at work, and I was with the kids. Sheriff Lyons, and he said there's a warrant out for both of our arrests. I said, well, asked him, "What do we do when we miss a court date? Who do we talk to?" And he said, "You got to talk to the commissioner." So I finally figured out what you're supposed to do when you miss a court date, and that's it. Um, so me and her were put into county jail for 4 days. We seen the judge on Monday. We were put in on Friday night. And yes, I didn't have a choice. I had to ask my mom to watch the kids until we got, you know, that done. No, my mom was paid. She didn't do stuff for free. But whatever. She didn't ask. We just, we didn't like feeling like we were using people. Well, at least I did not. Tiff went along with it, but obviously she didn't really feel that way. But anyway, like I said, the fact that when we got the call about where Talon was on the way to where her mom was, and I looked at her and said, "We're going to Talon," and she said, "No, we're going to my mom." I looked right dead back at her and said, "No, the fuck, we're not. We're going to our son." That right there. You just found out you lost Kirsten, Nolan, and your brother. We finally find out where your mom is. We don't even know where Talon is yet. You haven't even cared where he's at. I'm the only one asking where the fuck's he at? Where's Kirsten? Where's Nolan? Where's Tony? Nobody cared to ask those questions but me. David was completely coherent. He was the first one we had gotten to because that was the first one that was in decent condition. His feet were messed up, but he was not knocked out. He didn't have any head injuries. He didn't have nothing. And excuse me, police, I don't know what kind of forensics you're doing, but there is no way my son went over that back seat feet first for one at all. It's not possible unless he was standing on his head in the back hatch, okay? Even if he did, banging his thighs together is not going to rip his feet off at the ankles. Standing up behind a seat when impact happens is the only way that took place with this incident. He didn't fall off a roof and land on his feet. He wasn't standing on his feet and have something, keep his feet in place and hit him. And his doctor, the one that does this for a living, said that the cops didn't know what the hell they were talking about. There ain't no way that happened. And I have all that on recording. His doctor said what me and him were talking about with everything that went on in, being in a vehicle, sitting, this, that, the other, either which way, that what we discussed was 99.9% probable with everything going on. It would basically be the only thing that could explain why his feet were the way they were. The cut on his left forearm was from him reaching around the seat. The fracture in the middle of his chest is from the seat hitting him in the center of the chest. Yeah, police officers, it's called science. Freaking idiots. They got on a news briefing, and these dumbasses didn't say anything about it being caught on surveillance. They said that a neighbor said that they had removed a tire. Mentioned in the newspaper what this neighbor's name was, but I don't remember them mentioning it in the news briefing. Not only that, this neighbor that supposedly mentioned this is a well known drug addict that is friends with Tiffany's family. Now, the trauma nurse that was the first one on the damn scene and the house that it happened in front of said that there was no tire and she couldn't explain why it happened. Then, when I seen the video that explained why it happened, they deliberately targeted that truck. And yes, I believe David tilted that wheel. Yes, I did. But I also believe that Nana was basically helping him out without making, gestures and stuff like she was. She was playing it off like she was, oh no, what are you doing? But letting him do what he was going to do because that was their plan. That is the dangerous situation, and now David is the patsy they can pass it off on. That's why. This is a move right out of Brian's book. This is what he does. He will do the same thing. He will try to manipulate people into getting mad or believing they can do something against this person and get away with it. And they'll do it. I don't know how he gets in their head and gets them to do that, but he will. He's done it before. He did it with John Ralph. That's why they attacked my Uncle John. He also did it to his dad because his dad was getting on him about what he was doing when he lived with him in Lakeside. Imagine that, right around the corner from me. Oh, it's all crazy. It really is. I'm going to explain more in my next one because I don't think I was very clear. I was distracted a lot and explaining a lot and jumping around. Because I know there's going to be new people that are like, what? How does that? So I try and give a little bit of backstory on some things. And it's my ADHD running off left and right. I got to reel it back in. But I assure you, every which way possible, they were setting me up, and I have proof of it. Even down to her Hemp Hill lawyer that she got. I don't think he knows the truth. And it's funny, when I showed my lawyer, that was for me and Tiff when I first got them, Cameron Brown. They said that they were going to help me with litigation, and they seen what I was talking about, and then they completely dropped the case, which I don't know what that's about. Then they picked up Tobin, the guy that actually was driving the other truck. That should be conflict of interest. Why it's not, I don't know. Unless Tobin's family knew people in Elkton. I don't know. But it's very fucked up what happened. Excuse my language, but it is. You can hook me up to anything you want, and anybody that wants to go over the evidence I got can go over it anytime they want. If the kid's mother wants to see what I've got, which she can already see what I've got, because a lot of it is pretty much spelled out just in that video of the kids and all the stuff she was saying and the peace order she was doing. She's saying I'm the greatest and I was safety and this and that, but she's putting in peace orders saying that I'm hurting her and the kids. They have no bruises. They said no. They weren't even present for her getting the peace order. Yeah, the cops don't grant it. She's got to go to the courthouse. Yeah, I have no clue who the state boy was that she had at the school, or if it was even a state boy. It could have been a sheriff for all I know. All I know is my mom went up there to offer her a ride because she went walking down the road with two kids. That's another thing. Um, if I'm so abusive and so mad and so mean and blah blah blah, why would you leave the two babies with me for 2 weeks? By the way, wouldn't you have used that peace order to get them too? I mean, really? I just people just don't pay attention. They just hear the story and then I guess they want to believe it like a Jerry Springer show, but just so they have, I guess, create drama and excitement in their life. You're not going to do that with this situation. These are three babies that don't have a voice anymore, and I am being their voice for them. Might not be doing a very good job because I'm not very good at talking to people. I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. This is the most practice on talking to people I've ever gotten in my life. And I'm pretty sure I'm not doing that good of a job, but I'm doing the best I can. Yes, she knew she had a team of people that she could run to and that they would lie for her. And that's what they're doing. She also widened that team by manipulating my brother's friends. My brother, which my brother's easy to manipulate, he's already on their side. Yeah, that dude being in the army, I wouldn't trust him being my fucking teammate. I wouldn't. He'd be the type to go hide under a truck and have me get shot and then be like, I don't know what happened. Yeah. Where's your cover? Where's your help? Right. Then he'd come home from deployment and drum up to my wife. Yeah. Whew. Sorry for all the long videos, but I'm trying to get this all out and keep it as straight as possible and as clear as possible for you all. But when I say that video of them talking to me, that's it right there. Everybody else I showed it to says the same thing. That's all you need. So no, need a little bit more than that, but and that's just me being wanting to make sure I've got it locked in. And trust me, everything I did in the law library looking up stuff, man. There's tons of cases just like mine that were accidents and the people still got involuntary manslaughter for anywhere from 6 to 15 years. Big fines, dude. I'm talking about big fines and sued. And this county won't let me do none of that. They threaten me every time I go to put a lawsuit in, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that. Yep, Mr. Don Juan with the half bald, half afro, and Allison Craig. And I'm hoping I'm getting her last name right because she's my stepdad's family, and that's what he told me her last name was. Now I could go look it up, which I believe I did, but I just don't remember her last name. But I don't even know why this chick's even acting like this, other than maybe the fight with John Ralph, which that was another manipulation point by Brian. Yeah, he was dating a girl, Bree, and he wasn't working, and he was running around with his cousin John Ralph, and um, he had sent her in to ask me for 3 cigarettes for him, and all I did was say, "Sure." He knows the deal, and the deal is, whenever you get cigarettes, you owe me three back, which very simple, not that big of a deal, very fair, makes sense. Well, I get a call, well, text messages and calls from Brian running his mouth. That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up. And of course, John Ralph starts running his mouth. You don't ever say that to my cousin. You don't ever say that. Say what? That he owes me 3 cigarettes because I gave him three? First of all, it's none of your business. Second of all, stay out of it. That's all I said. You know I'm crazy. You don't talk to me like that. I'll come down there and beat you up. We'll be there in 30 minutes. And I sent it all to my mom and said, if he shows up here, am I allowed to walk out there and beat his ass, or y'all gonna have me arrested? And she said, well, if he shows up here and he hits you, you know what you're allowed to do. And that's exactly what he did. But he didn't do it that day. He waited, and he was collaborating with Brian because that's how he knew Mom and Pop was leaving that weekend, and I'd be the only one here. And then they set up this bullshit excuse to come here. He comes here knocking on the door. I even had the cops on the phone saying he's here and he wants to talk to me about my nephew. He's acting like something's really wrong. Pretty funny. He's got a phone. He can call me. He's just trying to get me to open the door. And trust me, I want to open that door. After somebody talks to me like that, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up. I want you to hit me. And I walked out, and of course, I knew something was up right away. Not just because they were there, but because of the way they split up and stood. His wife and him. Okay? Now, mind you, I'm outnumbered with witnesses already. See, I would have another witness if Brian was there and going to be truthful, but he wasn't for a reason. He left maybe 15 minutes before they showed up. And I already talked to Brian. I know he was cool and all that. They tried to say he was upset and suicidal over Bree, and I said, I don't even want to hear that. He shouldn't have been dating Bree to begin with. And he treats her like shit. He is not suicidal. He's just trying to get attention. And that's when his wife was about to say something, and I went to look at her, and he swung and punched me in the forehead, and I started laughing. And he went to, you know, swing again, and I grabbed his arm, picked him up, and we went right through the porch. I put him in a guillotine, and his wife started hitting me with one of the pickets that had a nail in it in my arm. And I told her, I said, you hit me one more fucking time. Once I'm done with him, you're next. Don't fucking touch me. Well, you're gonna kill him. Yeah, I ain't gonna fucking kill him. If I wanted him dead, I would have just broke his neck and I wouldn't be sitting here holding him. Trust me, when I want him to go to sleep, he's going to sleep. What the hell does that mean? I'll show you. Good night. And once he passed out, I let him go and threw him across the yard. You know, rolled him. And she went to swing at me again with that picket, and I grabbed it and threw it across the yard. And I said, bitch, I'm not fucking kidding. And that's when she ran to him. Yeah, she hit me like 6, 7 times with that motherfucker and stabbed me with that bitch. Why, you think that's gonna make me stop? No. Then, when he's coming to and I'm standing on the porch waiting for them to leave, he says he's got something for me, and I just start laughing. Because it's a gun or a knife, because he carries both. But I'm pretty sure he was going to bring both because that's how he does it. Of course, one don't work, he's going to try the other. That's how he thinks. And he got to his driver door, started coming up the drive, and I had already met him halfway. Because as he was getting in his truck, I took off running down the drive towards him. And when he came out, he had a knife in his hand and something like around his side that he wasn't letting me see. I just kicked him in his knee and elbowed him in his throat, and he went down like a stone. I picked him up, threw his ass back in his truck, shut the door, and then I walked back in the house and called the cops. And the only reason I did that is because him and his wife were screaming they were going to call the cops on me for that. You came to me, motherfuckers. This was, are you kidding me? This was premeditated. I have it on text message. I have it in fucking voicemail. Because when I went to the courthouse to press the charges, he's on voicemail trying to call me and tell me that I'm not a man for this, that, and the other. Motherfucker, you were the one that threatened calling the police on me. Get out of here. We're family. We don't do that. Yeah, right. We don't do that shit either, buddy. But yeah, I didn't fuck him up too bad because I was already in trouble by Pop for that, even though this motherfucker did all this on his own. He stuck his nose in the situation, tried to act like a badass, and came to me. Any one of y'all would have done the same. But because it's his family, of course, they get all mad at me. And I know Brian did that on purpose. He knew what it was going to do. And then he goes around running his mouth to them. Yeah, he told one of them, which that this is a mistake because he knew I was thinking about going for my CDLs. Well, he tells one of them that I was going to drive my truck through their house. Now, how he made a mistake is somehow the sheriff's office repeated that. And the only person that ever brought that up was him when we were talking about it. That's when he was in Tennessee. And no, we were not talking nice. That was after I found out what supposedly had happened to Eric. And yeah, he might have been cleaning and it went off. I guarantee you, some Brian put a live round in that chamber because Eric will not leave a weapon around loaded like that. And if it is, he's very aware of it. He's been around weapons since he was a kid. That's what I mean. Brian said he was going there to take Eric's fiance, and then something crazy like that happened, and Eric's gone. He's dead. Yeah, ruled accidental. Fuck out of here. Yeah, because if cops think there's no foul play or nothing like that, sometimes they don't even, you know, just, you know, out of a whim, make sure, you know, search for any type of that evidence just to make sure. Some of them don't do that. They think they're so experienced that what they see and what the notions they get, they go off of that. And if they don't get that notion, they don't do that type of investigation. Then you have a botched investigation because this dumbass thought he was so freaking good that he didn't look into it. I'll continue on the next one.